And they gave us James McRory and Paul McStay. They gave us Johnston, Tully, Murdoch, Gold and Hay. And most of the football greats have passed through Parkhead's gates. But to play football the Glasgow Celtic way. And they played football the Glasgow Celtic way.
Hello and welcome to the Celtic Ray podcast. I am your host Stephen Ray, and I am joined this week, as I am every week, with Kevin McColgan. Hi Kev, how's things?
Oh, next question.
No, but when I say how's things, it doesn't necessarily have to resort to football.
No, it's been a better week. And with everything, I think with today's good news about a vaccine has certainly improved the outlook for maybe getting back to the football. So definitely, things are looking up in that respect.
I'm going to go off Facebook, as I seen somebody tweeting that I'm going to try and avoid getting a vaccine if necessary. I never got a BCG when I was at school. When I got to the point where I was meant to get the JAG, they were looking for my forms and there was no form there. And they're like, oh, you can't get it. You can't get it until you get a form. And then they just forgot about me and I never ever got it. And I don't know. So I've never had a BCG and I don't even know what it actually helps you with, to be honest. So, but I guarantee they'll put something in your passport that you'll not be allowed to travel unless you've had the JAG. So
well, I mean, obviously I understand that there'll be people well in line in front of me, but I will happily take it when my time is right.
Yeah. So I was meant to, we were meant to go on last night, but I had to cancel last minute. It was my missus' birthday yesterday, and then our friend turned up and I was already in the doghouse. So the last thing I wanted to do was say, I'm going upstairs to do a podcast because I'd probably had my clays rammed out in the street. So basically, I have ordered her presents. Obviously, I like to usually go shopping for her presents and go and pick it up myself, but I don't usually do online shit. So what I was getting, or the two things I was getting, I was from the same place, and I could have got it from an alternative place, but both of them were the exact same price. Nobody else was selling it, and I'm not going to say it because she's not got them yet. So I'm like, right, we're both same price, but this company's is doing free delivery, and this company's doing something like £7 delivery, and it's both saying Monday for delivery. And I thought, well, what's the fucking point in paying £7 when I can just get it? So I went through the process, ordered it, and then I get the confirmation email, and it came through Monday the 7th. And I'm like, oh no. And her birthday's the 1st. I was like, oh man, how the fuck am I going to get out of that? And I was praying, and then I read the email and it said could take up to, that date. And I'm thinking, well, hopefully it's going to arrive. So I'd ordered it on Friday, and I was hoping by Monday night I was going to have at least an email saying it's going to come, and it never did. And I had to confess, and she wasn't happy. I go with the, yours is always in, your Christmas is even in already, and you've not even probably started on mine yet. And then I'm like, oh man, just
the usual.
So if I turned around and said I'm going to do a podcast, she'd have probably smashed the Mac up that she bought me for doing podcasting. So I was in the doghouse last night, so I thought 24 hours postponed. What can you do?
It gave me a night to watch the football, so if nothing else, it was benefit for everyone. So.
I actually got to watch something as well. So I was actually contemplating sort of putting this off again until tomorrow night, but I thought there's no point because we'll probably be even more angry and we'll probably end up ranting for an hour or an hour and a half. So I think it will give us time to breathe. We'll see what happens tomorrow night, and then we'll talk about that next week and whatever else happens over the weekend. So. As I said on Twitter, there's probably no point in going through blow by blow on the last two fixtures because I think it's deeper than formation. I think it's deeper than, player choices and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's why I put it out last night. We'll just do questions, because we'll probably cover pretty much everything anyway that's coming in questions, so we may as well give some people a shout out and get their questions answered while we're at it. Yeah. But just a kind of overall, what's your feelings yourself before we get into it? What's your feelings been over the last couple of games, and obviously the wider?
Well, I think over the last couple of games, and with the statements and protests and you name it, whatever's happened, just one word hits me, and it's scunnered. I'm absolutely scunnered with the way that the club is acting, the way that the team's playing on the pitch. It's hard to sometimes put into words how we're feeling. We could be here all day and we could try and get the perfect words, but sometimes we just won't do that. It's not been great, and I think it's going to get worse before it will get better, by given the supposed backing that Mr. Lennon has now.
Yeah. Before I get into the questions, you know how have you got this thing on? Have you got an iPhone or an Android? What have you?
I have an iPhone.
Aye. So have you got that feature turned on that now when your phone's like it's just a blank screen, and then you press the main button and then it shows you messages that have come through, if you know what I mean? So they're kind of highlighted on your screen, but you have to actually open the thing up and put your password and all that in, right? So this morning I pressed the main button and there was some Twitter messages that had flashed up on my home screen, and one of them said, "Your podcast is irrelevant after one of your guys said that he'd rather lose to get rid of Lennon." And I thought, well, that wasn't me, and it's only really you that's on it. But see, when I went in, I actually opened, I thought, right, who the fuck said that? So I opened up the phone and I went into Twitter, so they must have deleted it. But it still stayed on the home screen, so I don't know who said it or what they said. But that one's definitely lying at your door.
I don't think I said it. I think what I said was it was nobody. I think I was more saying nobody wants to lose. You know, that's what it was. I definitely didn't say I wanted to lose. Definitely not.
Because I think you did as well.
I actually remember saying something along the lines of that nobody wants to lose, and that's not the way we should be going about it.
Yeah.
I remember something like that. So if that's the way you portrayed it, then I'm sorry, but you're wrong. I'd never want Celtic to lose, believe me.
Also, I want to address something that was said on the 90-Minute Cynic podcast, or the Cynic as they call themselves these days. Their main producer, host, whatever he is these days, Gal, made a comment about how they were invited onto the BBC Sports Sound programme on Monday night, and he told them to fuck off, and why would they want to sort of go on a programme like that, the mainstream media, and sit next to Craig Levein and agree with Craig Levein. See, so that's his opinion. I don't know if he was having a go or a pop at me, or just, you know, basically just speaking out loud, and why would they go on a mainstream platform when, you know, they've got their own platform, you know. But I just want to address, I wasn't actually in the studio. I done it over FaceTime. I think Sean McDonald was in the studio though, so but I think he was sitting next to Tom English and not Craig Levein. I didn't agree with Craig Levein. He agreed with me. You know, I made some points to him as a manager, and in regards to, you know, is there a point where it doesn't matter what you've said and done and everything that's worked for you in the past, it just stops working? You know, is he ever? And he basically said, he's had that a couple of times as a manager, where, you know, everything that's worked in the past just stops working, and you start to overthink things, and you start to sort of, you know, you kind of just don't know where to turn. So I'm not a big fan of mainstream media, but I think there's a time and a place to go on mainstream media. As you've seen, Paul John Dykes has been on Sky Sports a couple of times, and I think that has helped. I wouldn't say Paul is the voice of the Celtic support, and I don't even think he would claim to be that either. But I think he's good at judging, you know, through his own platform on Celtic State of Mind, the sort of wider view and the points that come into him, because he's got a huge audience on his YouTube channel. So I tried to sort of, when I went on, I tried to sort of put my view across and how I was feeling, but I was also trying to I wasn't trying to speak for the wider Celtic support, but mainly the people I engage with, and I try to sort of strike that balance and how most people were feeling. And it came to the point where you actually had Craig Levein agreeing with me, and you actually had Tom English admitting that he was probably wrong to not see what the Celtic fans could see weeks and weeks ago when he was calling them bedwetters and all the rest of it. And Kenny McIntyre said to me that he knows that Peter Lawwell listens into that show because, you know, he told me sort of off the, you know, before we'd actually been on live that, you know, that they will, information, things that are said on that show does feed back to Celtic. So it's, for me, it was a perfect platform to go out and speak on my behalf, on my own behalf, but also to speak on how I know people are feeling, you know. And I was asked at the very end to, if I direct a question straight to Peter Lawwell or a point straight to him, I basically said that they shouldn't ignore some of the stuff that happened in the protest and concentrate on what's actually happening on the pitch and make the right call and sack the manager, unfortunately for him, but it's a call that has to be made. And what do you know, within 24 hours of me doing that and Paul being on Sky Sports, getting a brilliant interview, a statement's released. Not a very good statement, but at least they fucking made a comment, you know. So I'm not saying I was responsible for that. I definitely don't think I was. I think what goes out in Sky Sports News, the players see it in the player lounge, and the manager will definitely see it. So I think, and I just think pressure just built. So that's my point on that. So if you're no for going on to mainstream media, then that's fine. That's your call, but don't slate other people for it. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I was actually asked to go on the Go Radio football phone in, but I refused to answer that one. Mm-hmm. So because I don't think it was, I don't think it's a very relevant programme, to be honest. So
I think it's a wee brother of any other ones that are out there. You know, it doesn't have the same rule or the same audience. So I think I would have to agree with you that time and a place, and I think, you know, you have chosen the right time. Obviously,
I mean, that's the first time I've been on Sports Sound for 3 years. Mm-hmm. 4 years, actually. I was on twice in 2016, and I've not been on since. So it's not as if I make a habit of going on these things. But I was asked. Kenny's like off camera or off in the background. Kenny's quite an approachable guy. He's quite, you know, he's quite fair and he talks away and stuff like that. And, you know, he gave me the platform to speak. He didn't interrupt. I got 15, 20 minutes, so I can't argue with that. You know, it's not like talk sport. You get 1 minute and you get cut off, and then they get the last word done. I felt as if I get last word. So, yeah, I just thought it was something I had to address.
No, I would totally agree with you that there was certain comments that, you know, sometimes you do have to address them. So I would say that that was the right thing to do. And if Mr. Law was listening to it, then, you know, there must have been something that you maybe done that maybe helped release that that terrible statement, you know. But we'll come back to that anyway, because that was just another playing on history and empty words, really, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we'll get into some questions. I think we're going to cover all bases here, just looking at. I think we're going to cover anything down to how players are playing, the manager, the board, finances, you name it. So first question is from, it's just a simple name here, BB at Green with two N's, White. He says, how does Christie hit every dead ball when he obviously is shit at it? Every game he plays, what are management seeing that us are watching or missing? He is obviously a player who thinks he is better than he is. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Christie taking every free kick and corner kick?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a lottery with Christie at the moment, because it probably is.
That was the first question, by the way, so that's all the shit that's going on. This guy, the first thing he's worried about is Christie's set pieces. So
nothing to do with barriers or sharks or anything, or, you know, some policeman getting injured or not. It's why is Christie on every dead ball?
Yeah.
And it is, I suppose, it is a relevant question in terms of the team, but
it's a coaching issue, and it's a management issue. You know, it's like the times where you see two players fighting or a penalty kick, or you're like, surely these things are decided before you even think about stepping out in the park. Mm-hmm. You know,
But this almost seems to be a recurring problem over the last couple of years with Celtic. We just never seem to be able to hit a good corner or hit a good free kick. And if we do hit a good free kick, we're waiting 25 attempts later for the next best one.
It's a dying art, I think.
I mean, if we look at what like tonight, the Istanbul player hit an absolute cracker of a free kick to make it 3 each in that game, and I tell you, that was an absolute cracking free kick. And I think if Christie thinks he's going to do that every time, I think he's sadly mistaken. Is there anybody else really though that can take a dead ball apart from Edward? And he did take one on Sunday, and it was probably one of our closest attempts.
Well, we never get the opportunity to see if McGregor or, I mean, I look at Liverpool, for instance, right, and I always remember how many free kicks Van Dijk scored for Celtic, and how good. I've never seen him hit a dead ball for Liverpool, and I find it weird. I'm sure there's going to be somebody within the squad that plays most weeks that is capable of corner kicks, free kicks. I mean, we know Griffiths is really good at it. I just think it's a natural talent. And you look at the Barcelona side under Pep and under Enrique. I don't think they took a corner kick and threw it into the box. I think they'd worked out that I think there's only one goal in every 97 corner kicks taken on average across the world. At top flight football is scored. I mean, one in 97. It's not a very good. It's not very good odds. And I mean, you see in most games, most weekends, if you do like the bookies or whatever, corners, most teams one team will maybe have 8 or 9, and the other will maybe have 6 or 7 corners, and there's no goals scored for it. I think there's something to be said about mixing it up a wee bit, so to speak. Did we not have a corner last week against Sparta and we played it all the way back to the halfway line?
Yeah, that was we played it. It was Christie, and he played it right to. I think it was actually McGregor. I don't know that for true, but I think that was just like baffling at best. But the thing is, we say change it up, but the Lennon is, if however long he's going to be the manager, he's never going to change it up. We know that if we're playing tomorrow night and if there's a dead ball, Christie's still going to take it, and it's going to be a lottery whether or not he's actually going to hit the ball, hit it into the stand, hit it into one of the 4 corners of the San Siro, or actually get it on target. So
yeah. There was a tweet went out with an MP or something the other night saying that a couple of police were injured now after the so-called riots, as they're trying to portray it. And I said that they'd only just been hit with a couple of Christie free kicks. So, to answer the question, does he think he's better than he is? I think Christie's a good player, but I definitely think he thinks he's better than he is. I think he shoots too much. I think his corners are poor. I think his free kicks are pretty poor. And I think we should be sharing the burden, so to speak, mixing it up a bit. Yeah. Or even try something different,
But then we've tried something different maybe in every single game, whether that be formations or shape or tactics, and nothing has seemed to be going for us, and nothing seems to be working in any respect. So if something can happen, then I mean, I'm all for change, but I just can't see it happening under the current structure. But
next, move on to the next question from Dom CFC67 at Shiv1888. He's wrote, where is the fluence in our play gone? Every pass has to be controlled, looked around and played to next pass. So easy to defend against, as we've seen. Where's the quick one-touch passing? The wee give and goes, no imagination to our play. Such makes us so predictable. Miss a real playmaker, in my opinion. I think we've got playmakers. I just think that the players are now in a phase of scared to make mistakes. Everything
mistakes and possibly of just down tools as well.
Possibly. Lacking confidence, lacking, belief, lacking belief in what they're trying to do. I think it's a mixture of a whole load of things, to be honest. And
I think if you look at the body language in the last couple of games, like especially when they came out for the second half on Sunday, and especially that huddle, is as much as Brown was trying to rally the troops in the huddle, and when they came out, they looked the body language told a lot for me, and it's just I think a percentage of them just down tools. They don't think they can do it.
Yeah.
They're probably just as soon as they go a goal down, the heads are down.
Well, Winnan actually admitted that in his press conference today, that some of the players said that after the first goal went in, they felt deflated.
That
Is that not the manager's and the captain's job to sort of, grab people and get them going again?
That shouldn't be said. Shouldn't be being said in a press conference, in my opinion. That should be kept under wraps and just saying that, instead of saying, we are, when we go a goal down, we say, well, we'll try and work on it. We try and keep going, believing we can try and get it. But things that have been said in this week are baffling at best.
Yeah.
So.
From all quarters.
Yeah, from all quarters. Yeah, and nothing will surprise me anymore with whatever Neil Lennon says and whatever a statement the club says, because nothing will surprise me anymore.
Yeah. Next question's from Kevin Sutherland at Big Stoff 46. I love these names.
It gives me a wee chuckle, I must admit.
The reason the board are reluctant to sack Lennon, Kennedy, etc., is that they are so well prepared. What is that they are so well? I think he means ill prepared. Or they're so well prepared that they have a star management team already lined up for the summer, possible ? So basically what he's saying is that they've got a star lineup for the summer lined up. Not so sure about that, to be honest.
And it doesn't matter whether we've got something set up in the summer. The fact of the matter is we need to concentrate on the here and now, and the fact is we are so far behind the league. We have been humiliated in games so far, and we look a million miles away from claiming this 10 in a row that people still believe. I mean, there's some people out there still believe that we are actually going to do this with Neil Lennon in charge. I'm afraid that ain't going to happen.
I think that number's dropping by the day, to be honest.
We said it was 20% last week.
Did we?
I think we said we have. If it was to change, it was 20%. It's well dropped now to 10, maybe even less.
I've seen some folk, members of the cult of Neil Lennon, on Twitter actually saying, maybe it is time for him to go, but there's no need for this and there's no need for that. I get it, but move on. Aye. But I personally don't even know if Lawwell will even be here after the summer. I think this season, they've come into this season with, Brown is captain, a lot of players that have been here for most of the 9 in a row. The Celtic board, they've all thought, we'll stroll this, we'll spend some money in the summer, get some good players in, we won't let anyone go. We'll win 10 in a row and we'll all sail off into the sunset. And now the shit's hit the fan and they're scrambling about and they have not got a fucking clue what to do. They are so ill prepared, it's not even funny.
We ain't sailing into a sunset, we are sailing into an oblivion. And our board are a 20th century board. They have no plan of action. They have had some good points. They can do it when it pleases them. Like, they can go out and attract these managers, but for what the way we are prepared in this season and the things that have came out, for once we were called Yobs and Neds to then be called, we're all in this together, when a few fans start to decide that they actually want their season ticket refund back.
Aye.
I've personally not got mine yet, but I'm at the point now where I think, well, no, I will go and get it, but it still doesn't change the fact that
I'm sure somebody asked that question, so I'll hold off for now, but we will come back to it if there's no question about that, about the season ticket refund thing. Mm-hmm. Get a question here for R. Stevenson at Regan Stevenson. It's quite short and simple. What does Strachan actually do? You actually replied to him, said played Football Manager by the looks of it.
It's just the way they were looking at it. I can just imagine him saying, I play a 4-3-3, and with my Luton Town save, something along those lines,
I think this is something that happens when shit hits the fan. We had this before with Kennedy under Dyler. There was this thing about, Kennedy's a defensive coach. Kennedy's never been a defensive coach. No. Kennedy's just been a coach, and right now he's the assistant manager. That's his job. Stratton, he's just a coach, and this is what people turn to. People are looking for answers, looking for scapegoats. Listen, Gavin Stratton could be the best coach we've ever had, but he's just came at a point where the shit is, things have went wrong and whatever. But apparently, what's that guy who owns Peterborough?
Barry Fry.
No, Barry Fry, the other guy, the Irish guy.
Oh, I don't know his name.
Dara or something. I don't want to pigeonhole myself that he's something because he's from Ireland. But you know what I mean. I can't remember. I'm not even going to attempt his name because I can't remember it. But apparently he said on some podcast that he was surprised that Celtic went for somebody of Stratton's ilk, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So that probably says it all. What does he do? He's a coach. He carries out instruction. I don't know if he's any good or not. That's for the players to answer. I think he's just another, just somebody else to beat a stick with, I think.
He's just another name plucked from thin air by Mr. Law, who just picks these coaches just the same way he picked Diala's management team, the same way he picked Neil Lennon's management team on this occasion. It's just the same thing over and over again. Yeah. And as much as Gavin Stratton may be a good coach and his dad can talk him up as much as he wants, I haven't seen it. But you never really see it from a coach. You think, well, it'll just be what you see out in the park, and from what we're seeing out in the park, he's not giving, he's not earning his money, shall we say? But
well, there you had Gordon Strachan on some podcast talking about, the Celtic fans saying you'll never walk alone, but it looks like Neil Lennon's walking alone, and basically having a go at the Celtic fans and saying that Neil Lennon deserves more time and he's earned it. I don't think any manager earns any time, if I'm honest. I just don't buy this crap. It's mental how many people have come out backing Neil Lennon, and I know they're all mates and they're friends and whatever, but the record is terrible this season. He has failed in 3 competitions so far. He's still getting. He's got a cup final for last season to go for, so that for this season doesn't actually count as far as I'm concerned. That's still last season's tournament, and it's actually a bit of a distraction now. If I'm being honest, mm-hmm. The league he's clinging on with his fingertips, and we've obviously still got the Scottish Cup later to come. But we're out of 2 European competitions and a League Cup already, so I don't think there's much you can defend them on. To be honest, the performances have been pitiful. Is that Gordon Stratton basically saying, "Gonna stop shouting at my boy"?
But the thing is, like, if there's such a thing as buying time, then Neil Lennon's bought a shitload so far, because he's the only man that must have been survived so many games that any other manager at any other time would have been sacked for.
Did you see his press conference today? Have you listened to it?
I have. I've read the tweets from it. So yeah, but I haven't watched the video. But I have. So yeah.
He was asked if he was surprised. Effectively, was he surprised to still be in a job after the result? Mm-hmm. And he kind of hinted that he was surprised. So if he's surprised he's still in a job, what the fuck are we doing?
What we pissed about for,
if the manager's going into his work on the Monday and going, "Oh man, I'm for the brew of the day," and then they pull him in and go, "It wasn't a great result, but we're going to keep you on." He must have walked out of that office like, "Holy fuck, how did I get away with that?"
And the thing is as well, like, I think like whoever this source is that close to Desmond said, this is almost as if the Milan's his one last game. Is Dermot Desmond honestly expecting us to go to Milan and get a result tomorrow night? If this is his last chance.
They're the most informed team in Europe.
This is their best ever start to Serie A as well.
I know.
What? Our board are in cloud cuckoo land.
Listen, I hope we do go out there and get a result tomorrow, because it can't continue. We've got to turn it around some point. And if they're not going to change the manager, then there's no, I still think, even if they win tomorrow night, I still think, even if they win tomorrow night, I still think the manager should be changed, because he's done a lot of damage this season. We're still already out of Europe, so it doesn't change anything that's went before. We're still out of 3 competitions, and we're clinging on to the 4th. Next question from the boy Piro. His Twitter name is at Gora39523341. Pass. He's managed to fit in 3 questions a wee bit cheeky. So, question 1: what does Celtic Football Club stand for yourself? What does it stand for you?
That's a hard question to answer now.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends in what context.
Yeah.
Like, is he meaning? What does it mean to me? Because we could be here all day saying it means
I
so
think
much.
the ethos of Celtic is to sort of, I mean, in football terms, it's to be flamboyant, exciting,
Attacking
football, score goals, win
great
with style.
atmospheric, But
Aye.
that's
For the football
that's
side, I would say that. I would say for the board, it stands for making profit, being the number one in Scotland, and buy and sell players. I think for these guys, it's all about financial. I think the club. I don't know does the club actually have an ethos anymore? If you know what I mean.
I would agree that obviously the board are they'll only
talk about it.
Balance sheet.
Aye.
But the thing is, we need to understand that we are customers in a business. We're not supporters, and as much as we like to maybe think that the board will see us that way, it's just not the way it's going to be. I understand that we want things to change, but unless we get different people and they will see that as a business and only a business, and going by what they have said, it's as if, well, please spend money, please sell out season tickets, but God, don't expect us to do anything.
Aye. Well, that kind of brings us on to his next 2 questions. So he said in question 2, sticking by the manager to teach us a lesson. And I think what he's basically meaning is, you've made your bed, so let's fucking lie in it and see where it takes us.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me is kind of that thinking as well. Not to teach us a lesson or anything, but just to, how can he turn it around? There's that wee slight percent at the back of my head saying, what if somehow by some miracle he can turn this around? I don't believe he will, and I don't think he can, but I still live in hope, because I know that changing the manager is a massive upheaval for the club, and I know sometimes it's just got to be done, for the good of the club and the players and the whole morale around the place. But if they're not going to change him, then we can't keep going on losing. So something's got to give, Sorry, on you go.
Sorry. Those seeds of doubt, those seeds of like at the back of your head. I mean that was long gone for me. It kind of was there when we did go in a bit of a lull, and then we brought it back with an encouraging first half performance versus Leo, and then obviously winning the semi-final, which was fine. And then it just that was me then thinking, something might have happened, but then after that, it's just been no, nothing will happen. The players don't look interested, and as back to the body language, they may as well not have been on the pitch because they weren't even trying. It just was terrible.
So his third question, it says, if the manager is staying, how much will he get in January, and how many will leave in January?
I dread to think how many will leave in January, but I think a lot of them will. I think you could see Edward leaving in January, Aya leaving in January, Sham, maybe Christie.
I think minimum 2 will leave. I've got a feeling that Edward might leave because we're just not getting a tune at him. I think he's mentally chucked it. I don't think he's chucked it, if you know what I mean. I don't think he goes out there not to try, but it's just that he's not running that extra yard. He's not, putting that extra bit in that makes a difference and makes him the player that he is. I think Encham might go. I wouldn't be surprised to see Christie go. I wouldn't be surprised to see Julian go.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Lennon's going to stay, I think he's probably turned around to the board and said, these are the list of guys that need to go, and I need that money to replace guys that want to actually come and play for this club. I've said all the names and I've no idea if they are actually of that mindset. It's just a guess, I suppose. So I think possibly 3 or 4 maybe go, and I think maybe 2 or 3 might come in. I think he might get the money or at least a good proportion of the money sold to spend.
The bit that gets me though, we shouldn't be in this position of thinking if Lennon is here by Jan, he should have been out the door longer. He should have been out the door Sunday night. Protest or no protest. And if that's just to say, I totally get it. If he doesn't want to be seen to be bowing down to people, then so be it. But don't tar us all with the same brush. What's wrong with just wanting action done? Because the performances have been trite.
The next question, which was in response to the boy Piro, came from T at Rocket Monkey on 28. If he gets till January, will we bother opening the top tier at all next season? We might need to spend some of that money on new banners.
Because it'll be a club like no other. It'll be a 20th century club like no other. With no backing. It could. Is it going back to those days? It's very possible because, as I think a lot of people have said on Twitter, as you will see how well they treat us as supporters or whatever they want to class us as when the season ticket renewal comes round.
I think very interesting. I think trying to sell 11 in a row was always going to be a tough ask, regardless. Yes. Mm-hmm. But selling a season that you've just on the back of one, you've just absolutely ballsed up, which was a season, a once in a lifetime season almost. That's going to be a hard sell, I think. I know I think we've seen it through the Dialect years and towards the tail end of Lennon's first spell that Celtic have got a core season ticket support of roughly 42,000 people. Mm-hmm. I think when Rodgers came in, that bumped up, and obviously the banners came down and we filled the stadium again. But I think even through bad times, I think we've got a core of about 40,000 that will season ticket regardless. So, I think we could be back to the kind of numbers. I think that waiting list might disappear pretty quickly.
Yeah,
if things don't turn around.
It is sad to see, because you like to see a full stadium. I certainly do, and I think most people do. And it can't be nice for players to play in half-empty stadiums. But you can't blame supporters for the way that these last couple of weeks have been. And I know I maybe have went on a wee bit about how these last couple of weeks have been, but it will be interesting. It will be.
Yeah. The next question comes from Pablo at Paul McLaughlin 20. It must be McLaughlin, but he missed the N at the end. So he's asked a question and somebody's replied to him with another question, which I'm going to address. So he's wrote, when will the winger issue be addressed? Should Shved be recalled or 2 new wingers identified in January? This is a big issue on our lack of goals. Paul at Subutio Paul replied to that saying, agreed, but allowed Sinclair, Hayes, Shved to leave, doesn't play Dembele, prefers Christie out position and plays wing-backs. So to answer the thing about,
to add to that.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen Scott Sinclair's goal from the other night against Bournemouth.
What a cracker.
Check it out if you haven't. It's a peach. Sinclair had a brilliant 18-month with Celtic, and then it started to really go downhill after that. I think it was the right time for him to leave when they did. Hayes can't cross the fucking road. I think he's a guy that gives a lot and tries a lot, but doesn't actually offer much. And Shved, I think you're just clutching at straws if this guy is ever going to become anything at Celtic. He went to Seville when he was younger, got homesick, failed, went home. We've picked him up for just under 2 million, came here, apparently didn't really integrate with the squad, doesn't speak the language, and now he's playing in Belgium, and I don't even think he's getting much of a game out there either. So, we've still got Mikey Johnson to come back. We've still got James Forrest to come back. El Yunusi should be playing wide. He's still fannies about trying to play him as part of a 2 or in behind and out of position. Do you know Lennon was a 4-4-2 man in his first? Mm-hmm. Why is he never reverted to that?
Well, this is what I was always looking forward to under Lennon. Well, one of the things, it was just that at least we'll get 2 attackers, which should have been the way it always is. But I don't know why it brings it back to maybe it's trying to keep what it is under Rodgers. It's so far, with
El Yunusi plays wide left in a 4-4-2 for Norway. James Forrest can play wide right in a 4 for Celtic. Mike Johnson's a wide left winger. Christie can play wide right. I think Laxalt originally started as a wide left midfielder as well, and then kind of converted to a wing back. We've got the options there. It's almost as if he's playing the 4-2-3. He's geeing up a striker, I think, to make sure Brown plays.
He's very stubborn. He's very, very stubborn. And
I don't know if anybody actually brought up Brown, but I'm going to bring it up now. I'm going to reference this to something a bit weird, right? But do you ever watch any of sort of David Attenborough wildlife programs?
Occasionally, yeah.
Stick with me here, right? You ever seen any of the ones where I think it's like, there's a pack of lions hunting down this fucking wildebeest or whatever it is, and there's a calf in amongst this big sort of mountain there's all these wildebeest, but there's a wee calf in amongst them all, and he's the fucking easy pickings, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And whether it's the lions or the hyenas, they have pot shots that try to grab this fucking young calf away from the herd, if you know what I mean, because it's the weakest link, effectively. That's what watching Scott Brown in Europe reminds me of, if you know what I mean. He's clearly the weakest link in our team, and he's clearly the weakest link in that midfield, and he can't keep up. I know it's a weird analogy, it's a bit fucking out there, and I'm probably going to get slagged for it, but that's what I think of. I think of this, this guy is just getting picked on. I mean, how many times have you seen him getting nutmegged in Europe this season? I actually seen the 20-minute Tims tweet it as well after I'd seen it, and I thought, fucking, he's just getting nutmegged again. Then they tweeted something along the lines of Brown nutmegged again, or the standard nutmeg on Brown, something along the lines they wrote. I
jumped as well in Europe.
I think it's tough viewing now, watching Brown in Europe. I think he's a guy who's trying to be what he once was, but the legs are just not there. The reaction times are not there. The sharpness just isn't there anymore. And I think it comes to his all where your mind knows what you used to be able to do, but your body isn't able to do it anymore.
Well, I mean,
and I just think he's getting overrun in midfield, and it's starting to become embarrassing almost.
Well, if you look at this is just maybe a bit off topic, but if you look at his interview from yesterday, if you've watched it,
the only thing it was missing for that interview was a cave and a jumpsuit, an orange jumpsuit.
I mean, it looked as if
he looked like a hostage. He looked like a hostage put in front of a camera trying to fucking save his own life. It was terrible.
I think someone was speaking to him, saying, say these words, like, it was really bad. Like, it didn't, I mean, some of the things, he didn't even put emphasis on them, saying, stick with us and that. But, if you're going to try and giddy up the people, then, give it a bit more oomph than that, pal, it was,
yeah.
Well, it was.
You can hear my dogs barking in the background.
What are you saying, sorry?
I don't know if you can hear my dogs barking in the background.
No, I can't hear it. I can't hear anything. But it appears to be this podcast brings up my squeaky noises on my laptop. That's poor, apparently.
No, it's no had so much tonight. His interview, somebody wrote, I think he's blinking SOS. It was a tough watch. It was an excruciating 4 minutes. And I don't know why Jerry McCulloch got to the end of that, watched it back and thought, yep, let's get that out there.
Let's edit that and make it look good.
Wow, man, it was so bad. And I don't think Brown's the best at interviewing at the best of times, and I've already said this a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I find him a very cliche footballer in his interviews. He was almost... The only thing he missed it, cliche-wise, the other night was, it's a game of two halves. It was...
I love that cliche though, it's so stupid, but
I just found the whole thing excruciating, and I felt a wee bit sorry for him that he actually get told to go out there and do that.
It's the same with Lennon's press conferences though. They are tough watching as well, but just absolute barbaric statements coming out from him. Just his words. It
was almost like, right, Scott, you've played for shite managers in the past, but it's not as bad as that, is it? That was almost what it was like, wasn't it? And you're like, what the fuck's going on here, man?
But I'm just surprised that Jerry McCulloch was saying, that the fans are making the noises and blah, 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 but, stick with us. Oh, Jesus, it's fucking hard, Scott, believe me. It's
Yeah.
hard.
R. Stevenson, Art Regan Stevenson's got another question. He wrote, have the players just given up on Lenny? What will it take for him to be removed? Feel like we've been treated like mugs. I think they're trying to get to the cup final. I think they want him to achieve that treble.
To make it look as if they made the right choice, that he got the treble.
But in the meantime, we're out of Europe twice. We're out of the League Cup.
Doing the tubes.
And we possibly could be out of the league race if things don't turn around quickly. I think it's a dangerous game.
That's what that statement was, as if, we do have a cup final come up, so you better be looking forward to that and you should be privileged. Well, yeah, we are looking forward to it, but the way we're playing it, that's just looking at the past. We need to be concentrating on the here and now, and the here and now is that we are absolutely terrible.
Next question, Franco Boy at Franco Boy 1972. You've got 6 years on me. Do you think the lack of engagement with the fans through all of this will be their downfall? It seems that they're only interested in fans when they want our money for season tickets or club merchandise. I feel totally shafted and mugged off by Lawwell, Desmond and the Tory board. Yeah, I think, see if you look at the actual Celtic board, the average age must be in its mid-60s. Yeah. There's no youth, there's no vigour, there's no new ideas in there. Most of them have been there for years. Lawwell's been there since 2003. I only just remembered that he was actually part of the old board back in the early 90s. He was involved in that at some point for a couple of years.
I never knew that. I never knew it was, He was there since 95.
Yeah, I just think they lack. I think they lack awareness. I think the whole social media thing is alien to them. I think they're scared to engage in media. I think they feel as if they're going to get tripped up. I just think the place just needs a root and branch fucking clean out. You even had, and I hate criticising this guy, the guy for the foundation. Is it Tony
Hamilton?
Yeah. Even he tweeted out some smart ass comment on Sunday that he had to delete and then try to backtrack on. I just think there's a lot of people at that club that think it's their club,
and as in a cushy position, and they're comfortable.
They're too comfortable in their position. They are been there so long that they think they're untouchable, and that's a problem.
But I think that's a problem with some of our shareholders as well. That there is people there that are just happy to see the club be, run well, and
have we run well?
Well,
when Lawwell took over in 2003, yeah, we were paid. I think our turnover was somewhere in the region of £75 million or £73 million. Our turnover was, but I think the wage to turnover ratio was between 70 and 90%, so it was really high. And a club like ours needs to be operating around about 50% of that. The turnover's been pretty much that, apart from the year Lennon failed to get into the Champions League or Europa League. I think it dropped to around about £58 million in turnover. I think the merchandise sales were terrible. And then obviously we get back in the Champions League, and when we've pretty much been in Europe group stages for 10 years in a row now. And I think the turnovers hovered around about the 75 to 80 million mark ever since, apart from the first 2 years of Brendan Rodgers, where it hit 91 and then £100 million. And it's all what Celtic. But Celtic for me should be £100 million turnover club most years, through players trading, through the merchandise, through Champions League, through doing well in Europe. And it's almost as if when we got to the UEFA Cup final in 2003, I remember being down at Kilmarnock for the last game of the season that we lost the league, won by a goal. And on the way home, Desmond done an interview with Clyde, and he was asked about, are you going to go again next season, invest in the team and da-da-da and all that sort of stuff. And he couldn't. The first thing he spoke about was congratulating Rangers and, on a great victory and all that. And you're like, what? And then he totally dodged the question about investing in the team for the following season. The only signing we made that summer was a free transfer for Stan Varga and a fucking 5 to 12 job to get Michael Gray for Sunderland on loan. That was the only signings we made after reaching a UEFA final. Because Lawwell knew in the job and fucking project downsizing was on. Now we made it to the quarterfinals again that year, and if we'd pushed the boat out a wee bit, we might have made another final, because the final that year was probably a bit more winnable. Unfortunately, we came up against probably the best midfielder in Europe at the time in Juan Riquelme and Sonny Anderson up front for Villarreal, and the two of them absolutely ripped us apart. But
Sonny Anderson was great, those two.
He was tremendous, and Riquelme was just on another level to any central midfielder at the time. But I think it was almost as if we reached this level, and it was almost as if we don't want the fans to be thinking we can get here every year. If you know what I mean, that's really hard work to keep your club at that level and paying high wages and stuff, and it's quite a risky. I think it's a risk game, if you know what I mean. Celtic are comfortably a 75 to 85 million pound turnover year in, year out without Champions League. And I think the accumulation to get that over 100 million mark is seen as risk management for me. And I think that's where that's why I think they're happy just being number one in Scotland and qualifying for group stages every year, and that's it.
It's a good point you make with regards to it is an old board, but people and fans have the opportunity to vote these people out at the AGM. Now, whether or not that makes big differences, because they hold quite a lot of votes probably, I don't know if it'll make much of a difference. I know that I've got a slip here that will be getting voted against for resolutions 2 to 6 with regards to the directors, because I do think there is a change needed. Yeah. It's the first time I've felt like that, so I do think we need a change now. We need new ideas.
This is not to say old people can't be creative and stuff like that. I don't want to be ageist or anything like that. I just think that they've been in the job so many years. I think there's meant to be a turnover of every 4 years for certain director positions.
Yeah, that's what it is. So it's like,
I think the CEO needs to change hands at least every 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think we should have a director of football who runs all football matters, who is totally separate for the CEO. The CEO set a budget, and it's due to that director of football to fucking work within that budget, as far as I'm concerned. And that includes management, wages, player trading, all that sort of stuff. So I think Lawwell tries to be all these things, and I think
to be clever and take his $3.5 million year away.
How many times did you hear for Lawwell when Brendan Rodgers first came in?
Mm-hmm. He did absolutely zilch.
He wasn't. The only time you seen him in his first 2 years was when they got Brendan to sign a new contract, and and it's like, Brendan's 4-year contract, great, he's doing a fantastic job, and then you never seen him again. Until Brendan started to push the envelope on players that he wanted. He wanted Piccini for $7 million. He wanted John McGinn. He got into basically a battle with your man out at Hibs, who wasn't backing down. We lost McGinn. We didn't get Piccini, and then Rodgers threw his toys at the pram, and that was that. So Lawwell's back in the frame again, almost. That's how it felt. I'm not saying that's how it went down, but it kind of looks that way for the outside. Next question, David Grant at David Grant 19. Is your man with the wig becoming a spokesperson for the Celtic fans? I've seen him on a couple of media outlets this week. He's talking about Derek Zoolander, Paul John Dykes.
There's some bad, I will say that.
He actually put a Twitter poll up people that he's supposed to look like. I think Leanne Dempster was in there. I think
I answered that poll as well.
Who's that mad bird that used to be in EastEnders?
Cat Slater?
No, the one that Phil Mitchell went out with, and it wasn't Miss Piggy.
Oh God!
But he put I think he put Gash as well for Ramsey Nisbet.
Oh, that's what I voted for. I voted for Gash for Ramsey Nisbet. So
he looks like Gash. But he's Derek Zoolander. I'm sorry, Paul, but man, you did that Barnett what you did. Is he the spokesperson? I don't think he tries to be the spokesperson. I think he's just got a very influential podcast that a lot of people and get involved with. So and he's got a lot of good content on there. So I just think Sky have reached out to him. He's quite articulate. He speaks well, and if he wants to be I think most people agree with what he said. I've seen a couple of people disagree, saying you don't fucking speak for me and whatever, which is fair enough. He's never ever claimed that, so I don't have any issues with Paul standing up there speaking on my behalf, because I think he speaks a lot of sense.
I think he's, for what I've heard, I've not had the time to actually sit down and listen to one of his shows, because it just seems to be that every day he's got something going. But from what I've heard on Sky, very articulate, very to the point, and hitting the nail on the head. So I can't say anything wrong with about the guy.
Right, I better start battling through these questions, so we'll be here. It'll be a 2-hour podcast. Michael at B89. Michael, I was only young, around 9 years old, when Rangers won 9 in a row, but was the early to mid 90s as bad as some fans say, or would it be on a par with the current run of form under Lennon? What do you think the team will be like on Sunday against St Johnstone? I don't even want to guess at the team is Sunday against St Johnstone. We'll see what happens in regards to that. But I was there. I was 16 in 1994. I think I was 15 when the sack the board stuff was going about. Mm-hmm. I think under Lou McCarry, it was a shocker. He got after a good start. He beat Rangers at Ibrox. We were on a 3-game winning run we were on. Then we lost to Sporting Lisbon, and then he drew a shitload of games. He drew like 20 games. I think we had something like, I think we went maybe 10 games without winning at one time. But I think there was like 6 draws in amongst it. It was crazy. And then he lost 3 in a row. We lost a league game to Rangers 4-2. Then we played Motherwell in the Scottish Cup. We lost 1-0 to them. And then we played Motherwell in the league a few days later, and we lost 2-1. Phil O'Donnell scored. I think Tommy Coyne scored the goal in the game we lost in the Cup. And that was when people were like, McCarry might actually get sacked here, and he's just done the job 2 months. So that season especially was particularly bad. Tommy Burns' first season in the league was really bad. We got off to a good start, but it felt like shit for a while. We actually finished 5th that season. Yeah.
Do not draw a load of games in that season as well.
I was shitload. The following season under Tommy Burns, the season we only lost 1 game. We actually drew 10 games that season, from memory. Which even if we converted 2 or 3 of them into victories, we would have won the league. It's crazy. So
people say that's the best football they've ever played.
It was good at times. I think people are quite nostalgic about it though, if you know what I mean. I think the best football we've probably played is maybe in Rodgers' first season, I think, or Martin O'Neill's first season. I think both those seasons were absolutely tremendous.
From my memory anyway.
Yeah. Gary Winchester at Hans Zargo. That's a brilliant name. Try not to rant, Stephen, but this crap about entitlement that's getting spouted in the media is really trying my patience. How can it be entitlement to want to be the best for your club and to wish them... Sorry, the screen just went blank there. To wish them to succeed. Celtic as a club should be much better than what we're seeing. Thoughts? Are you entitled?
I don't think I am, no. I think we are allowed to want, as we've said, we are allowed to want our club to do well at every single given occasion. And when people are coming on and saying, like you see some people saying, I don't see how Celtic fans would cope with being Motherwell. Well, the fact is we're not Motherwell, we're Celtic and you're Motherwell. So the thing is, our team is our team, and what's wrong with wanting to be successful as much as we can be?
I definitely answered that tweet as best I could without actually saying anything. That SMP chick.
Yeah.
Somebody said it was like a mic drop.
Like, I just don't get it. Like, how would you cope? Well, no. The fact is, you have your team, we have our team, and if us being entitled is us wanting to do well at every given occasion, then so be it. Surely that's what you want for yours. So are you saying that you're entitled to expecting that? Not at all. So I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I do feel though that the silence in respect of that they won't even come out and publicly support Lennon if this is what they're determined to do. They're going to drip feed it through rags that they're going to say through their pals in the media. I just think that's totally baffling, and it's quite concerning. The silence from them, and I agree with the protest, but they should have been peaceful, and they had to take into consideration that obviously with what's going on. But one or two wee arseholes spoiling it for everybody should not take away from the fact that it was probably justified that those protests.
Yeah.
Well,
what I'd like to know, if the board think we're entitled, I want to know what the remit was for this season in all competitions. Because as far as I'm concerned, and I think all clubs, and I mean every club that plays football, has a line in the sand is what they deem success and what they deem as failure. Now, if you are Real Madrid and you say to the Real Madrid manager, I pretty much guarantee its minimum requirement is win the league, or at least be there or thereabouts in the last day of the season, and minimum win the Champions League.
Aye.
And if they don't do it, that manager's under pressure. Celtic is to win the league, to be there or thereabouts in cups, to qualify for group stages of European football, and try and be beyond Christmas into the later stages of European football, last 32, last 16. I don't think, if they are set out as goals for the club, the minute you start, and I think that's what the fans expect as well. I think us as fans, I don't expect Celtic to win every cup game because, and I know we have for the last 4 years, but, shit can happen in cup games. You don't always play your strongest team. You can have an off day, blah, blah, blah. I think I expect Celtic to win the league because we've got the biggest budget and we've got the best players. I expect us to compete for cups, semi-finals, finals most season. I expect us to qualify for group stages European football. If it's Champions League, then I don't expect us to go much further than the groups. If it's Europa League, I expect us to make minimum last 32. If we don't get that, then as far as I'm concerned, based on the budgets now that we've got, I think questions need to be answered. If you're only failing in one out of those 4 or 5, then fine, I don't think you really raise an eyebrow. But if you're failing in all 4 or 5, I think you're entitled to be entitled, so to speak.
You're entitled to wonder what the hell is going on.
Aye.
Because what is going on? I mean, you look at some of the records that have been, like, the first time since 1958 we've lost 4 times at home in a row. That should not be happening if we are the biggest team in the country with the best budget. It shouldn't be happening. And I know that there can be the odd result, and yes, we can lose the odd cup game. That's football. But Celtic should never be losing 4 games at home in a row.
We have not won a post-Christmas European 2-legged tie since 2004. Since the David Marshall Barcelona game.
Aye.
And that's all since that was Lawwell's first season. I think that's a scandalous stat. Rangers even bettered that last season.
Aye.
And they've only been playing European football for 2 seasons.
I know. And it seems to be that but us in Europe has always been a weird thing to watch.
Yeah.
It's either nail biting or it's actually we're playing no bad team. That's just the way Celtic have been ever since I've been supporting them. But that is one of the stats that the legacy of Law will never live down. That how bad that is, and
Aye.
he can sing to the cows come home how he's always wanting to be the best he can be and always try to improve on merit and stuff. Well, that's not one of it, and that just doesn't wash with me, And I just think his time is up. Desmond's time's up.
Yeah.
Could be that a lot of their time's up, but
well, that brings me on to the next question.
I don't know how it works with all that, like how it works. Like, is it just like a full vote at the AGM? I don't know how that would work. But
I think the amount of votes is based on how many shares that one person holds. So if you hold, say, 30,000 shares, then that your one vote effectively counts for 30,000. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't have shares. But that brings me on to the next question from CG44 at Ticketastic. He just wrote, when will Peter Lawwell GTF? I don't think he'll go anywhere until Dermot Desmond decides to sell up. I don't think he'll even sell up. I think he'll pass it on to his boy. I think
that there's strong rumours that's what's going to happen. But maybe that's maybe the young fresh ideas that we're maybe looking for. I could be maybe just being too optimistic in that respect. But I've also heard rumours that apparently Law is to step down at the AGM.
Yeah, I've heard rumours of that as well.
Now, whether or not that happens, but another thing, sorry, just one last.
That's right.
With the AGM, the fact that they're asking for pre-approved questions is shocking as well.
Listen, that's not new. Peter Lawwell done an interview with Celtic Underground and By the Minute Celtic 2 summers ago, and apparently every question was vetted and basically written out effectively what they were allowed to ask. And Paul from By the Minute and Harry from Celtic Underground basically had a script that they had to ask, and he'd already had his answers pre-done, I suppose. And that's what I was going back to about how they're so scared to be tripped up and say anything out in public that they can be held to. Next one is along the same lines from Celtic Ra 9 in a row. Celtic Rab, I think it's to be called. For me, it's now gone. Sack the board. I don't think there's any way you can go with that.
I mean, is this where we're going to? You know, is it now to the days of? Is it back to the days of sack the board? You know,
right now, I don't think. I mean, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything that can be done mid-season. You can't sack. It's pretty hard to sack a board mid-season. You know, unless the club's going to the wall, which we had in '94. I'd like to see change in the summer, regardless of how this season goes. I think it's needed, is the answer for me. Bon Scott at Bon Scott _1. You know who Bon Scott is, don't you? Know this guy, but the original Bon Scott.
No.
The original lead singer for AC/DC.
Ah, right. No,
right. Do you know why he's called Bon Scott?
No.
That's not his real name. He was born in Kirriemuir, just outside Forfar. Then he moved to Australia when he was younger. You're getting a music lesson here, by the way.
Yeah.
And he joined AC/DC. He was actually the second singer for AC/DC, who are the Young brothers, Angus and Malcolm, who were born in Carntine, I think. I think it was Carntine they were born in Glasgow. And they moved to Australia as well. But his nickname in primary school, or kindergarten school, or whatever it was they called it earlier, was Bonnie Scotland, and they shortened it to Bon Scott. That's how he got his name.
Oh, honestly, I've never heard of that before.
I didn't make it up. It's true.
No, I'm not saying you have though.
I mean, a question for Bon Scott. I think it's the lack of leadership from the boardroom that grates me most. No direct communication with fans, i.e. the direction we're going, an information vacuum. Folk start making stuff up, and as we've seen, try to read some of these, because I can tell people are trying to fit it onto Twitter and they're missing out words and stuff, and it makes it hard to read. As we've seen, getting rebellious, we're on a rapid downward spiral. I think that's what caused the uproar the other night. Now, I'm with you. I don't agree with throwing fences at police vans and throwing shit at players and players' cars. The only thing I've really seen was people kicking the fence and that guy lobbing a fence at a barrier at one of the police vans. I actually seen a tweet for a Hun, and it says, never mind elf in a shelf, what about Tarrier with a barrier? That's actually quite funny. I think it looked like a shark, didn't it? And even Paddy Power picked up on that. But I think when that stuff starts to happen, then you kind of start to lose it deflects away from the actual reason why you're there. And it's an easy deflection, because it then turns into riotous yobs kind of thing, as opposed to peaceful protest to remove manager. I think the lack of engagement for the club, the lack of added value, not getting to the games, the spin that's getting fed out through certain journalists in the newspapers, I think it's just led to the fans just becoming a bit pissed off. I had it last night with the missus. She wasn't talking to me, and it gets frustrating, and you just want to throw shit at Wendy's, So I get it. You know what I mean? It's
And there's nothing
even
wrong.
even somebody's ignoring you. It's so annoying, and I
Uh-huh.
think people just go. I think some people just snapped, and it's not the day we losing a cup game. I think it's just accumulation of all these games that we've been playing shit, losing games, getting out of cups, getting out of Europe, and people have just had enough.
And I think it's also that this current situation hasn't helped that, because we would have been able to voice our opinion at it.
Aye.
Because at the Sparta Prague game, there would have been people baying for blood, the home one. At the away one as well, it would have been the same. That home game against St Johnstone, that if that was fans there, that would have been the tin lid on it, surely, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But who knows with this board? But
Yeah.
it's just that it kind of something sort of happened on Sunday, and it was weird because you looked at, as it was a poor game, you do naturally go on Twitter, because
Yeah.
it was just a shite game, and then naturally all of a sudden it was just one person said it, that we need to say something, that we need to have more voices heard, and then all of a sudden there's videos at Parkhead.
Aye, there's a few hundred people there. Aye,
You know,
I think it's.
something just clicked with everybody at the same time.
I think the board are playing a very dangerous game with the fans, and I think the statement that came out last night was an absolute shambles. Even, Stephen McGowan, who's a journalist that seems to be on the ball with things that come out of Celtic. I was talking to him in private last night, and I don't think he is what you would call a Lawwell puppet or lapdog. I don't even know if he actually gets fed information anymore. But even he tweeted sometimes it's better to say nothing at all. And I messaged him and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, you actually probably know more than me. I had no idea. So I think
that tells it all.
I think there's an awareness fucking problem, a self-awareness problem, and they're not reading the room very well.
I mean, I don't know if it was I think this was picked up on another podcast, but I don't know if it was a piss take or something, but they were actually offering you a full free replay of the game right after it finished. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, read the room, man.
I know.
Who would want to watch that shit show? That absolute shit show. But the thing is, all we're just asking for is a bit of communication. It's not exactly rocket science.
Yeah.
You're backing the manager, come out and say it. And if we're not, then at least have the balls to say it to us. And I know
that should not have been Scott Brown last night. That should have been Peter Lawwell on camera answering tough questions. Next question comes for T45 CFC at TonyBoy_88. Who will be the first Celtic player to do a Chris Commons? I think it's coming. My bet is higher. I think what he means is Commons at Mulder. Jinx think somebody's ready to throw a paddy.
Maybe. I could maybe see it being Christie.
Possibly, aye. Or McGregor, actually.
I can't see. I think McGregor's quite the model professional, so I think he'll keep it very...
I think Ayer's a cracking shout, to be honest. He seems like quite a big and emotional guy. I've got a question for GigPod. The guys over at GigPod. Enjoyed your great podcast. Give them a listen. Yeah. They got a brilliant interview recently with Kelvin Wilson, who probably didn't realise he was doing it, but he threw Lennon under a fucking bus and a half. Regards to the dieting and shape and tactics and all that sort of stuff. So well done on that. They wrote, do you genuinely think there is any chance of fans getting 180? Oh, sorry. Do you think there's any chance of fans 180 on this, or is it too far gone? I think what he means is, is there a possibility that we could do a full fucking 360 on Neil Lennon? And how we think and what we're thinking on this whole situation. As long as he's in the job, he's got to start winning games. If he wins every game from here until the Rangers game and then beats Rangers at Ibrox, then maybe. But if that's it in a nutshell. I think he's got to win. He's got to win out from here on in. I don't know if the European games come into that. I think if Celtic maybe lose 2-1 tomorrow night and it's a really battling performance and it's maybe lose to a late bit of genius or something along the lines, we're just beaten with a team that just had too much quality. But if we go out and get spanked 4-5-0 tomorrow night, I think it's going to be really tough to even turn it about in the short term. So
See,
to answer the question, I think it's purely on results. I think he needs to win out in the league, and I think he needs to beat Rangers at Ibrox to keep his job for the rest of the season.
Well, I'll say right now, there is no way we are beating Rangers at Ibrox. There is no way that's happening. And I think, how many times have we said that we have, like last week we said we have to have a good performance at Sparta Prague to then kick on to then try and get a decent result against Ross County. Both didn't happen.
Yeah.
Both could have resulted in a sacking, really.
Yeah.
But, and then...
Well, when the manager's surprised that he didn't get sacked, then you're in shit creek. So.
I mean, he may as well just said, what's the point in being here? And then just, but is it, that he's holding for a payout? Is it,
Probably.
Is he that much of a Celtic man that he'll wait for a payout from Mr. Law or Mr. Desmond, So.
Right. Well, I know on 14 in, we said we'd try and keep this to an hour. That's not happening.
It's never going to happen tonight.
Still questions to go, so I'm going to try and quick fire through some of these. Sorry to the guys that's come in late. Flint Cam's Twitter, what's his Twitter account? At Flint Cam's. Fucking hell, man. When are we going to get a 21st century board that reflects the support and can think positively about the club and its supporters? I think Desmond is too... I don't even know if he's a football guy, really. I know he goes to games sometimes, but he doesn't actually sit on the board. He's a majority shareholder, but and he's always stopped short of actually buying the club outright. I think his shares just sit underneath that threshold. I don't think that's right. I think that holds the club back. I think we need a board that don't interfere, so to speak. We need I think we need a director of football, a sporting director, somebody along the lines of the guy who went into Salzburg 10 years ago. He'd done an interview quite recently, and it's spectacular what they've done in the background in regards to youth recruitment, player trading. They're on another level to where we are. We're playing at it. We don't have the scouting system that some of these clubs have got. Look at Ajax. There's no rocket science in this. It's good player trading and a brilliant youth development. That's it for clubs like us in a small league. So yeah, I think
the thing with Desmond as well is he doesn't even bother to turn up to the AGMs any year, and I think that's a poor show. Okay, he might not be on the board of directors, but he could at least have the decency to turn up if he's the majority shareholder of the company's fucking AGM.
John Campbell at Campbell 90 John, he wrote, if this pantomime continues, boys, can you see next season being like the 90s? I don't think we'll ever return to that level of shiteness. I think we may return to the sort of 2000s where it's a back and forward, the league titles getting passed back and forward for the south side to the east end. I think I can see that possibly happening. And we probably shouldn't even be at that stage. We should probably, when Rangers get their act fully together, if they ever do, Celtic should still be a league title, maybe 4 in every 5 or 3 in every 4 at least. But as it stands right now, we're heading for maybe a 1 and 2. So I don't think we'll ever return to the 90s levels, but it's we definitely need some fresh blood at a high level.
We need it all over the place. That's what it is.
Fresh thinking. Brian Murray at MurrayBoy88. Are we at the stage of hoping the current buns go deep in all cup competitions? Well, they're going to make the last 32 of the Europa, that's for sure. They're going to try and win the League Cup because they're never going to have a better chance, to be honest. I think they need a cup to sort of get that winning mentality at them. Do you know what? I want them to get knocked out the cup. I don't want them going deep because I think that will knock their confidence a bit. If they can't win this League Cup, I think that knocks them a wee bit. So that's just what I think. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not really concerned about them just now at this moment in time. I think we need to start getting our ideas up. We can only do what we can, So I kind of get your point on it, but I can't. I mean, the way they're playing just now, that they seem unstoppable.
They don't look. I'm not saying that they will. I'm just saying I hope they do because winning breeds confidence. I always remember when we stopped to 10, Rangers went out at the quarter-final stage to Dundee United. We went on and beat Dundee United in the final, and that kind of gave us our first trophy in 3.5 years. and it helped us probably win the league. Got a question here for Callum McFadden at Callum CFB from that podcast, the at Football CFB podcast. He's a good guy. He's got some good stuff as well. Check him out. If Neil Lennon departs, who should be the backrooms? Should the backroom staff leave the club with him? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's needed. As I said, fresh blood, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Let's restart, push the reset button, and go again.
Arthur McBride at Arthur McBride. That was easy enough. Better follow him. I don't follow him. Do you reckon DD has told PL, you fucked up 15 million on a Yeti, Barkas, Turnbull, Duffy and El Yunusi. You need to sell Eddie, Christie and Aya, plus free up wages for new manager and coaching staff? No, I don't think it is, actually. I actually don't think those are bad signings, if I'm honest. I just think they've come into a team on a downward spiral and the manager doesn't know how to get the best out of them. Because we're chopping and change. We don't chop and change formations every week. We chop and change formations every half.
And then every 10 minutes, depending on how it happens.
Yeah. TG67 at TG6714. We seem to be struggling for width in our team at the minute, with Forrest and Mikey Johnson both out long term. What has happened to Karamoko Dembele? Ross County game would have been an ideal time to try him out. Yeah, but I think Dembele's... We've obviously covered Forrest and Mikey Johnson. Dembele, I think, is probably intimated that he's out of Celtic, to be honest.
He's not going to get a chance under Lennon.
Not now. Yeah. And this is where I think Van der Sar done an interview for about 4 or 5 minutes last night on BT regarding Ajax, and they basically asked him what's the secret, and he just said young players. We are a mix of old heads. There
is no big secret,
No. So we're getting close to the end. Jai O'Brien at WCB120. If Lawwell was leaving at the end of the season, as people have said, is that influencing his decision not to sack his mate? I know he said the manager, but he actually said mate. Possibly. It's possible.
We need to get rid of our old pals act as well, that, because I think we do have a portion of that in the club. But it should never have been Lennon in the first place. Should never have been. The way that it was conducted and keeping CVs on file.
Amateur hour, wasn't it?
Saying sorry?
Sorry, I was drinking water. I'm saying it was amateur hour.
Oh yeah, it was amateur hour. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and we kept the CVs on file. Well, I think you'll need to look into them very soon.
Next question from Liam J. McLaughlin. Wonder what the J stands for. At Larky Boy 85. He always sends a private message. He never sends it. He says, "Do you both believe that Lennon will still be in charge on Sunday? I hate to say we could see back in August that this time is up after Ferencváros game. He's here. He's here to the cup final. I think unless if he loses, he won't go if we lose tomorrow night. Unless it's fucking 10-0. 7-0 or something. I think he needs to drop points in the league before that will be considered, personally.
Yeah, and if he loses in St Johnstone, it's got to be it. But I mean, you just never know. Because there's so many times that we could have said that was probably the chance, or But who honestly knows? I mean, I think that there's going to be more protests on Sunday.
Allegedly,
hopefully, if they can be as peaceful as possible, but you're always going to get the odd fanny, that will be there and want to throw a shark, But I honestly do think there will be more protests, and it's not the way you could be going about it in a current, pandemic, if this is the way people are feeling, But
I got a question from Murray at DM McDonald 96. Honestly, he's wrote War and Peace. Jesus, man. I'm not going to read all this out, man, because he's wrote Hunters, but he's basically, to paraphrase, it's been shit for 6 weeks. He disagrees. He thinks they're good players. They're not unknown to each other. So this lounge at Lennox Town is just a bit of fucking, that's an embarrassment to even come out with that, These guys played under Brendan Rodgers, who were super fit, and they knew their job, the instructions. If this was Dyler or Mowbray or even Stratton, they'd have been crucified for this. Lennon's getting a free pass. I agree with all this. It's so.
And why is he getting a free pass? That's
He's quite an influential guy. He seems Lennon, to be honest. So. I think we got a few last minute questions. No, you've already some people sending in the same questions that they sent last night. Covered that one. Baz Media at BMC79. Oh, he's replying to me saying Real Madrid fans are entitled Neds, and he wrote spoiled with all the Champ League wins. We're kind of pretty much done there. Aye. Thanks for all the questions, folks. We tried our best. If I've missed anybody, it's not through. It's quite hard to try and go back, especially 24 hours, and try and filter back through. So if I put a post out saying, asking for a question, try to reply to it on that point, because it's much easier, and then you can sort of just scroll through them as they come in. Mm-hmm. I think we covered pretty much most of what we probably needed to.
There's always going to be stuff that we may have missed out, but I think we've covered the main points as we have, and the ones that matter the most at the moment. So let's see what tomorrow brings, and Sunday.
Yeah. I just want to touch on something. Also, we've not had a chance since. Obviously, the death of Diego Maradona. Diego Maradona is my only football hero. I knew of Maradona before I knew about football. I'm going to do a podcast covering some of Maradona's greatest moments, player and manager. I'm going to do a bit of research into that. Most of it I know probably off the top of my head, because I've watched his career, followed his life for as long as I can remember. So I know this is a Celtic podcast, but I think the guy is just such a special person, talent, player, everything. I think in his, I'm sitting just now, I've got a Boca Juniors red retro top on. It's got the Quilmes sponsor logo on it and the number 10 in the back. I actually didn't put it on deliberately. I just picked it out the drawer because I must have at least 10 or 12 retro Boca / Argentina / Maradona tops, all with the number 10 on the back. If my wife's struggling to buy me something for birthday or Christmas or anything like that, she just buys me that sort of stuff. So so I'm going to put a bit of time into doing something like that, so hopefully that's something people would be interested in listening to.
The man deserves a mention. That documentary that was on during the week, you could watch that over and over again and just marvel at it, that what a person, and the way he had the whole of Naples building shrines to him, all over, and it's quite sad, and but what a player and what a legacy he leaves behind. And it's quite a nice touch with what Boca Juniors have done, saying that he never leaves, he never dies.
He's eternal.
I think that's a really nice touch. And I know that's a little bit, people say, oh, that's just a bit...
Have you seen the video for the game the other night? One of the players scores a free kick, they all run over to just underneath where his box was, and they put a number 10 shirt down, and they all give his daughter, who's sitting up there, a round of applause, and she's an absolute bits, man. Dalma Maradona, I think her name is. It's pretty heartbreaking stuff. But I think I am going to put a bit of effort into something like that and get some audio stuff to go with it, and hopefully it's something that people might tune into and enjoy, because I think the guy's... You could argue that he's the most loved person in modern history, almost. Even 30 years retired, he's still got an entourage. He still gets media following him everywhere. Every media outlet covered him. A whole country's in absolute bits for him dying. Every player seems to have paid respects towards him. It's incredible. I don't think we've ever had that for any movie star or pop star or anything. I don't
think it's happened, certainly in the world of football for myself.
Definitely football, but I don't even think Muhammad Ali got this amount of press coverage. It's the guy's a phenomenon, and I think because he was treated like a god, maybe that was part of his downfall, that he thought he was immortal. No, he thought he had immortality, kind of thing. But I'll try and cover. I don't want to go into any of the dark stuff. I want to kind of, when I do it, I want to keep it to the football stuff mainly, and all the good stuff that he produced over the years. So I sort of get that out there.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that'll be something I'll be tuning into, definitely.
Cool. Right, we'll call it a night at that. We've went through a shitload of questions, probably more questions than ever. The most listened to podcasts, once again, is the ones with on the back of the worst results. So you're all sick bastards out there. It's obviously a therapy session, but
that's why it's for therapy, honestly.
I just thought it was good to sort of give people a voice by doing it this way the night with questions, because people are frustrated, they're stuck in their house, they can't go anywhere, and if I've even given them a minute of fucking a voice to put their name out there to something, then hopefully it helps, because the club certainly don't seem to be listening to us, that's for sure. So
no, they certainly don't, but it was the best way to go about tonight's podcast, because there's something deeply wrong at our club at the moment. Yeah,
well, we're bang on 1 hour 30 minutes, so we'll call it a night. And I just want to say thanks again for coming on. I'll catch you next week.
No problem, see you next week.
And they gave us James McRory and Paul McStay. They gave us Johnston, Tully, Murdoch, Gold and Hay. And most of the football greats have passed through Parkhead's gates. But to play football the Glasgow Celtic way. And they played football the Glasgow Celtic